everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Conversations with Ascending Tribe. I'm Alex, creator of Ascending Tribe, and you can join our weekly chats online by sending me an email. I am so happy that I finally got Dave on. I've been trying to get him on for a few years.
Yes.
Yeah, I messaged you like five years ago when I first came across you. I was like, I need to speak to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
No,
sorry
but I'm sure
about
you were inundated. I'm sure. Yeah, so I do my little intro, and basically I described you as someone who has a burning passion to help humanity by sharing a wealth of experience, wisdom, and knowledge. So yes, introducing you, allegedly Dave, aka Dave Murphy. How have you been?
It makes me sound all wise and stuff. I'm not. I'm just
You are. You're like the wise oracle.
Gosh. Okay. The world is in trouble then.
How have you been though during these crazy times?
I've been actually good. I mean, I live off grid, so all this lockdown stuff hasn't really affected me. And essentially, whenever they've said you can't do this, that's exactly what I go out and do.
Yeah, I can relate, especially with the mask situation that's been going on, but I'm sure we'll touch on that. Mm-hmm. I really want to start with the very, very beginning of your journey. So what was that moment that really sparked your journey? And what I mean by journey, I mean, I don't really like calling it an awakening as such, because I feel now it's more of a remembrance. Would you feel the same way? Or that journey of remembrance,
I kind of do, because I was like deep in the matrix. I actually remember a moment when I was young, say 13 or so, or maybe a little younger than that, when I literally decided to, I realized I was like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And I made a conscious effort to shave off the corners, so I just sort of fit kind of in the hole. I remember that moment. I thought, well, if this is it, then okay, I'm gonna have to see how well I can fit. And for a long time, I was playing the game. I was working to get more money, get a bigger house, get the faster car, and all that stuff. I guess for me it was like several things happened at once. I was actually at 9/11. I turned down a job in Lehman Brothers on the 40th floor of Tower 1.
That's insane.
A month before it happened, and I took a job directly across the water in a place called Hoboken, which is literally right on the waterfront.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was right there watching it, from the side of the river. So I didn't really see anything, weird about it. I knew there was something fishy about it because it looked too much like a film, how it turned out. And
can I just ask, did you see two planes?
I didn't see the first plane.
So there was a plane?
I don't know, because the first thing I knew was I was at work. One of the secretaries come running in and said, and she said, a plane's hit the World Trade Center. So we all rushed out.
Yeah.
And I just saw the hole in the building and the smoke pouring out of it.
Yeah.
And while we were standing there, we saw a plane flying low over the Statue of Liberty from our point of view.
Yeah.
It was flying low, flying towards the city, and we were like, well, what's he doing? Is he getting a better look or something? And then we saw the plane kind of disappear behind the building, and then we saw the explosion. And we didn't see the plane come out the other side, so naturally we thought the plane hit the building. So I really don't understand. Well, I do understand the people who say, oh no, there wasn't a plane, it was on TV. But you know what? I was there. I saw what looked like a plane. So what can I tell you?
Yeah, because there are there's different theories around this, aren't there? That it was a hologram.
Yes,
and then there was the CGI theory as well.
yeah, one of the things that they point to say it was a hologram is a piece of video that shows as the plane was going along, a wing seems to disappear into a building and then sort of pop out again. But that, if you knew how the buildings are laid out, you'd realize that the building it seemed to disappear into was actually way in front of the World Trade Center. So the plane actually just went behind it, and that's where the wing disappeared to. It's just the way it was shot. But no, I saw what looked like a plane and the sound of a plane, so
So you heard it as well. That's crazy.
Yeah, unless it was a very, very, very sophisticated hologram. No, we saw it as a plane.
Yeah. So that was like the moment that kind of got you onto your journey. Like you felt something was no.
No. It was 4 years later when I was helping my daughter with her physics homework, and we were trying to figure out, if there's a marble on the tabletop and the marble's tabletop's a meter high, how long does it take the marbles to hit the floor? And so we worked through the problems, and my daughter went, "I've got it, Dad, I've got it." And I said, not so fast. Okay, let's imagine it's a bowling ball and it's on the World Trade Center. And so we sat and worked out the calculation, and it came out to be about 10 seconds. And that was when a light bulb went off, and I was like, hang on a second. And I went back to watch the films, and sure enough, the whole building took 10 seconds to fall down. So that's when I realized that it couldn't have happened the way they said it did, because a building falling through its own self, through the path of most resistance at the same speed as a bowling ball falling through empty air, it's impossible.
So there must have been explosions with, like, whether there was planes or not, there was definitely explosions.
Oh yeah, there were definitely explosions, but at the time when everything was happening, it didn't really sort of register as such. It was like nobody thought, well, what's exploding, but when you go back afterwards and start looking and thinking, well, okay, why is it, what is exploding, why are there explosions? And then you had Building 7 and all this stuff, but it was that turning up at the same time as, I guess, my midlife crisis hit me. I started asking, is this all there is? What am I here for? Am I really here to go to work every day and collect things and and just the person with the most stuff wins at the end or whatever. So there was that feeling, and it all culminated when I had a Ferrari. I had a Ferrari F355 Spider, and I was stopped at traffic lights one day, and people were crossing the road, and they crossed the road and stood next to me looking at the car. And I sat there thinking, hang on, I'm in a car. From where I'm sitting, I can't see I'm in a Ferrari. I'm just seeing, steering wheel, windscreen. It's like, I'm just in a car. And, did I get this thing for me or for them? And it was like, a bit of soul searching. And I realized I got it for them. I didn't get it for me. I got it for them to see how well I'm doing. Yeah. And then I looked at my house, and it was a huge house, and there's 4 of us rattling around in it. And I was thinking, well, yeah, I got that for other people to see how well we're doing, And it was like I was like pulling apart all the sort of strands of my life, and everything just fell apart. And my job wasn't what I thought it was. It was actually putting people out of work and enslaving people to a computer. Every aspect of my life was a fraud, and so that was it. I was on a journey to find out what was behind 9/11 and what the point of life is about. And that's it.
And then you just went down all the other rabbit holes.
Yeah, it was like, it's like doing a huge jigsaw puzzle. You start off in one corner and you're doing all the 9/11 stuff, and then all of a sudden you find a few pieces that kind of lead off somewhere, and it's like, okay, what, they don't seem to fit in the big picture here, but let's go along here. And then you open up into another topic and you're finding all the pieces for that, and so on, until eventually you've got enough of the puzzle done that you can stand back and see the big picture. And that's what I've started to see.
It is such a crazy sort of feeling, isn't it, when you start going, because for me, how it happened, like in 2012, I came across this documentary called Zeitgeist, and at the same time I was given the book Conversations with God. So kind of simultaneously, my spiritual journey was kind of starting, and then my truth seeking journey was also starting. And it was just really funny how, exactly like you say, the little pieces lead to the next piece, the next piece, the next piece, the next piece. And I just remember, like, I don't know, just talking to you now about it, I don't often think about it actually, but it just, even talking about it now is just making me think, like reminiscing about the feeling of how crazy it used to feel. But I still have that feeling now, you know, like even now it's like, the more I know, I still feel, well, I realize now, the more I actually don't even know. Like, well, we've had conversations before, like, you know, and I constantly keep asking questions, which I will do here anyway.
It was earlier on, it was shocking. I was finding these things out, and it was like total shocks and all. And like most people in this, you know, as soon as you find out these things, you want to run down the street screaming, look at this, everyone. You know? And as you find out, all your friends start sort of shying away from you, your family start to kind of turn on you and everything.
Did you ever have that feeling, that internal feeling of like, you kind of half felt that it was, that you already kind of knew it, like, oh, I always felt like that, or I always thought that, or I always knew that deep down? Did you ever have that feeling?
Not really, because as I said, that moment when I was a kid, and I shaved off my corners, and just in basically kind of what's the word, submerged myself into this culture. I would ignore all this stuff. You know, even if it put itself right in front of me, I would say, oh, no, that's rubbish, and move it aside. But when I stopped and actually started looking for myself, then I was shocked. And that happened for the first like 3 or 4 topics, but after that it was like, okay, another shock. Okay. You know? It's like, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that was coming. You know. So
exactly.
In that way, yes. After a few sort of stops along the way, it was
kind
like,
of expected it.
I know it. Yeah. And you always see the same. And this is part of it as well. You always see the same characters popping up, you know, in every topic. It's, you know, you delve deep enough into it, and you find the Rockefellers, and you find, you know. So yeah, it was,
it's true. So now we're going to fast forward to today, and I really want to ask your opinion. How did we get here? How did we get into this situation that we're currently in? Like, let's delve a little bit deeper. Like, how did we come to this point that we're currently living in right now? It's quite a broad question.
Yeah. And we've actually, how did we get here? We've been part of first of all, been part of a story that's been going for thousands of years. And part of that story is a plan to basically to exterminate a nation of people. And you know, this plan has had some kind of divine help, or let's say celestial help. So yes, we're at the final stages of this plan, but at the same time, we're at the end times of the planners. So they've run out of time, basically. But you know, their end game has basically started too late. You know, this is why everything is like frenetic. Everything is like being like the kitchen sink has been thrown at this. You know, because this is essentially the last gasp. This is the last opportunity.
It does definitely feel like the last push, doesn't it?
Yes, you know, and their end game should have happened years ago. And somebody else made this point. I think that their plan was for you know to end, or you know, to actually finish you know, 2021, because you know, Agenda 21,
Yeah.
right? So now it's been pushed to Agenda 2030.
Yeah, I've heard of this one. Yeah.
So yes, it looks, you know, and it also feels like, you know, because we've been pushing back, you know, we've you know, interfered with their plans, that we've delayed them enough so that now they've run out of time, and they're literally throwing a kitchen sink at us.
Yeah. Does this tie in with the Yuga ages?
Again, okay, this is probably unpopular for those people who are into this, but all of these religions are fake. They were made by the Vatican Church, the Vatican Church, the Vatican. Now, you know, I don't doubt that the Indian culture, yeah, actually predated the flood. You know, it's writings based on, you know, pre-flood times, and yes, it goes back a long way. But the actual religion, you know, which you know, cherry picks the bits and pieces they like, and weaves a story around it, that was created by the Vatican. So in a way, yes, it is kind of like, you know, the yugas. There is going to be what could be classed as a golden age, but I don't think it follows the patterns and revolutions.
But you don't feel it's like seasonal?
No.
As in, the universe goes through seasons, our Earth goes through seasons?
No, as I said, there's a story that's going on, and it's an active story where you know, there are two sides vying against each other, right? And so it's not so much seasonal. It's literally very active and changeable, essentially.
So it's between, you know, good and bad.
Yes, essentially. So you've got like, you know, the Most High. Some people call him God, but the Most High on one side, and his representatives, his chosen representatives down here, 12 or 13 tribes. But then you've got the ones that rebelled, yeah, the fallen angels.
Yeah.
And they have chosen human representatives as well, another 12 or 13 tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And literally what's been going on for thousands of years is this battle between them, because there is a hatred between these bloodlines that will go on till the end of time.
Okay, so it's going to be a constant battle.
And it has been. I mean, it's raging now, you know. But the one side, the ruling class at the moment, their one of their blessings is deception. Basically, deception and warfare.
Yeah.
But deception is their most, you know, powerful weapon, and that's what they've been using. And this whole society is built on deception. Literally is. You know, everything. You know, you look at how a politician works. Yeah. You know, we find out a politician's lied or done something really bad. He'll come up and he'll use flowery language to not actually lie, but literally leave people with the impression that he didn't do what he did.
Yeah.
Even though he literally said he did what he did.
Yeah.
The language, and language is one of their powerful weapons. The language is designed such that it makes lying and creating false realities in people's minds very easy.
Yeah, I actually have a question about that, so we'll actually come on to that. But do you know what I found out lately was that in politics, they actually have a specific job, a job description called a spin doctor.
Yes.
Do you know about this? I'm sure you do know about
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, it's literally do as I just
When I
described.
found out about that, I couldn't believe that they've actually named it that as well. That's genuinely what it's called.
Yeah, it's essentially, you know, you've got a story that's negative and harmful to their agenda, and somebody comes out and uses flowery language to spin it, to change
Yeah.
it so that the perception is completely different to what, you know, the reality is. And
Do you?
I do in one of my talks. I give a little example of how our minds can be controlled with just language. And so what I do is I put a red circle and a blue circle on screen, and I say to the audience, right, these circles are different. Okay, now just have a look and tell me which circle is bigger than the other. And you know, half the audience go, yeah, it's a red one, and the other half go, oh no, it's a blue one. And one or two people will say they're exactly the same. And so I usually pick those people out and say, no, they're different. So so have a look again, see which one's bigger. And yeah, they eventually have a little look and they go, yeah, I think the red one is. Yeah, and the other one say, oh no, I think the blue one is. But you know, of course, they're both exactly the same.
Yeah.
So what I basically said was, they're different. Well, yes, they are. One's red, one's blue. But I didn't lie. I said they're different. Which one's the bigger one? I gave a suggestion, and I basically shaped your reality.
Yeah.
And you know, your mind did the rest.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful one, because even when I tell everyone that yes, they're exactly the same size, people still look and go, well, I'm sure the red one's bigger.
Yeah.
You know, even though I told them.
It is really crazy. Is it based on NLP, do you think? Is it to do with neuro-linguistic programming?
NLP, yes. NLP is just one method.
Yeah.
You know, hypnosis is real. Okay. And since I've been looking at language, I've realized something about it. This was created. Our minds have been created for this purpose. Yeah. There are two ways that we know things. Okay. There's a natural way of knowing something. It's called intuition.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's that knowing something without knowing how you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you know something, you know, you look at something and you know what it is, and you go, okay, is that right? And you go look it up and you find, oh, it is right. How did I know that? Yeah. And that happens in the right-hand side of your brain. Okay. The right-hand side of your brain is that side that is literally connected to everything.
Yeah.
You know, your subconscious mind, your right-hand side of your brain, literally knows the past, the future. It knows everything about everything. Now, it won't tell us all this stuff. You know, it will drop us hints every now and again. And if we try and interrogate it, it will kind of go, no, I'm not telling. No, I'm not telling. Yeah, you're on the right track, but I'm not telling. You know, it's that kind of relationship we have.
Yeah.
But it literally knows everything about everything. Now, the left-hand side of the brain is what we call us, you know. So one side of us is everything. The left-hand side of the brain is what roots you in the here and now and in the Alexness or in the Daveness of everything, yeah, of me, okay. So what they've done is they've created a construct in the left-hand side of the brain and kept us rooted in this side.
Yes.
So it's essentially Greek philosophy. The Greek philosophy is this process of learning how to mold and shape the left-hand side of our brains. So yes, the natural way of knowing stuff is intuition, or the right-hand side. The artificial way is logical deduction.
Yeah.
So you get bits of information in a step-by-step logical sequence, and you essentially craft a reality out of this, you know, this information, and now that stands as reality. But with logical deduction, you can create any reality in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
You know?
So what you're referring to is like the collective side of the brain, and then the individual side.
Individual, and it's not just individual, it's, you know, the right hand side is a kind of parallel processor. Yeah, so you get lots of information in parallel, and then you process it all at once.
Yeah.
Right. Then in the left hand side of the brain, it's serial, so you get, you know, bits of information in a logical sequence, right? And you have to process it in that sequence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how we know stuff, and how it works is that, you know, you get language, you get bits of information, and you have to put it together and make a guess at what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other side is a knowing. Yeah. And the left hand side is a guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the example of Paleo Hebrew that I've done.
No. What
No?
did you say your video?
Yeah, it's in my video, and it's about I tell the difference between Paleo Hebrew and English.
Oh yeah, no, I did see it. It was the one about the beginning of language. It was like going back to the very beginning of language that you did.
Right. Well, I do a demonstration in there about the difference between English and Paleo Hebrew.
Yeah.
And
you were saying that English is very backwards, like the language itself is a backwards language.
Yes, but the example is, well, I'll do it here for you then. So I'm gonna describe a film to you in English, and you have to guess what the film is.
Okay.
So a man on the autistic spectrum recounts his life to strangers. What's the film?
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that film. I want to say Rain Man.
Okay, right. So what happened there is, in the left-hand side of your brain, you were listening to the sounds I was making.
Yeah.
You were fetching the meanings of those sounds.
Yeah.
And then you started matching up those meanings of sounds, yeah, to a list of films that you'd watched.
Yeah.
And you chose Rain Man. You guessed at Rain Man, right?
Yeah.
That's the process I'm talking about that they've got us rooted into. Right, now I'm going to give you the same film in Paleo Hebrew, right? So just relax and listen, because it's a language of pictures. So I'm going to give you a set of emojis, okay?
Right.
Right. So, man running, a few trees, a park bench, a box of chocolates, shrimp, and a boat.
Forrest Gump.
Right. So what happened there is I started giving you pictures, and your left-hand side of the brain couldn't analyze them because they were just pictures. So your right-hand side of your brain kicked in because it was looking at pictures, a very visual and a visual sort of cortex. So, you were listening to the description of pictures and visualizing them in the right-hand side of your brain, and all of a sudden you knew what film it was. No guess, right? You knew what the film was. Yeah. Now that set of pictures could not represent Rain Man, ever.
Yeah.
It can only mean Forrest Gump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Can you see the difference between the two modes of thought? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you suddenly, it just welled up in you. You suddenly knew what that film was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than you were listening to the description I made and you were going, well, I think it was Rain Man. Yeah. You even said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Rain Man. Yeah. Right. But I saw it on your face when I was going through the film. It was a smile. You just like, oh, that, yeah, you knew it, right? That's the difference. The knowing and the guessing, yeah. And we've been sort of rooted into this world of guesswork, and you can tell when you speak to somebody. You know, next time you're in a group and you're talking to somebody about something maybe a little complicated, right? Now, we all assume that everybody knows what we're talking about when we speak. Yeah. So next time you've just said something kind of involved, turn around to the person that you just spoke to and say, could you repeat that back to me? That's socially not not acceptable to ask somebody to
To
repeat
repeat back what you said, yeah.
yeah. But you do that and you'll find that, you know what, he's only guessed at what you meant, and you're going to have to sort of try and clarify for them, because they literally haven't got what you really wanted to say, because essentially your lexicon, your set of meanings and stuff may not be exactly the same as this guy's set of meanings, because the English language is so vague that in Paleo-Hebrew, a word has 8 different meanings.
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't choose the meaning you like. You literally take all the meanings, and it makes that word very, very specific.
Yeah.
Okay. The opposite is true in English. Yeah. And in English, a word may have 7 or 8 different meanings, but you choose the one you want for whatever context that you decide it is.
Yeah.
So when somebody says a sentence, you don't necessarily understand it the same way as the person said it.
So Paleo-Hebrew is like the oldest language?
Yes, absolutely. It's a very
Can you speak it? Like, what does it sound like?
No, it's a dead language, but we know what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because it's 22 characters.
Okay.
And all the characters are consonants, because there's no vowels in Paleo-Hebrew. But every consonant...
That sounds so weird. It's like trying to imagine.
But it's not that hard, because every consonant has an assumed ah sound after it. So it sounds like ah, ba, ga, da, la, pa, ra. Yeah?
Yeah.
What does that sound like to you? Who speaks like that?
Arabic?
No. But no, babies.
I wasn't going to say, I wasn't going to guess that. I thought you meant like in terms of like similar to a language.
No, it's baby talk,
Yeah.
It's babbling, what babies do. Well, the point is that babies speak Paleo-Hebrew.
Oh yeah, this was also in your video as well. Yeah, you had an example of this.
Yeah. There was a Scottish king who did an experiment where he marooned a woman who's deaf and dumb on an island with 2 newborn babies.
Yeah.
And they left them there for years to see if these 2 boys, who were brought up in silence, if they could speak a language. And the story is that when they went back, these 2 boys could speak Hebrew, perfect Hebrew.
That is crazy. And they could speak to each other.
Yes, apparently that's what the story says, but that's...
It makes sense that we would have like a natural language.
Well, yes, doesn't it? I mean, cats know how to meow,
Yeah.
Puppies know how to bark, birds know how to cheep. They don't go to school to learn that.
Yeah.
The parents don't sort of sit them down and go, cheep, cheep. Yeah, cheep, cheep. No, they know how to speak their own language. It just doesn't make sense that we come into this world not being able to communicate with our parents.
Yeah.
So
do you know what? Like, that was actually one of my main questions, was actually to speak on Paleo-Hebrew. But I want to know, how does this tie into word magic and how they use it against us? Like how they use it to manipulate us, and how they use word magic against us.
Right. Well, as I explained earlier with the left-hand side of the brain idea, is that you can know stuff by a process of creating a logical construct for it, and that construct then becomes your reality. Then that's what you interact with, rather than actual reality.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, let's imagine your taste buds, for instance. Yeah, your taste buds. When you taste something, all that gets sent to your brain is a stream of electrical signals. Okay, and you've got like is it 5 types of flavor on your tongue? So you get like a stream of electrical signals from 5 different sets of sensors, and we recognize a certain combination of these streams of electricity. And then our mind labels that as something. Okay, so you eat an apple,
Yeah.
right? There's sweetness, there's sourness, there might be a little bit of bitterness, and there'll be, there's a very specific mix of electrical signals from these five senses. Yeah, and we've labeled that set of electrical signals. We've labeled that apple. Okay, but that's a left brain process. We've labeled that, an apple.
Yeah.
Okay, so now language, especially in the left brain, can be used to reprogram that process, because it's only a label.
Yeah.
Right. So with certain words and a way of speaking to actually, let these suggestions go into the mind, yeah, you can convince somebody that set of electrical signals actually should be labeled onion. Or let's put it the other way, yeah, the flavor of an onion, well, you can now relabel that with apple.
Yeah.
Okay, and a good hypnotist can literally hypnotize you or make suggestions, with a logical construct in your mind to, relabel those electrical signals so you believe that is an apple.
Yeah.
So yeah, for your reality from that point on is that the taste of an onion is actually that of an apple.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's a very simple one, but literally you can use this logical construction idea to reframe the whole of reality. And that's what the television does.
Yeah.
It literally puts you in this susceptible state for programming, and you watch with the sounds and the vision that's presented to you. It gives you a completely different reality if it wants to, and for instance, if you watch EastEnders, okay, that show is like all about conflict and
Drama.
argument, drama and stuff. Yeah, and most people don't ordinarily have the situations that are portrayed on that show. But what it's doing is creating false experience, and it's creating a reality in your mind that, again, might not directly sync up to your normal day-to-day reality. But as soon as you hit a situation that's already appeared on EastEnders, right? Well, that false reality that's in your mind already will kick in, and you'll find yourself replaying what you saw on TV without knowing it. And people often do stuff and then go, "Why the hell did I do that?" Afterwards, like, what? Why? You've just had to go at somebody that your best friend for next to no reason, and it's like afterwards you're like, bloody hell, why did I do that?
That's a really scary concept, isn't it? That they can really get in your head and control and manipulate you like that. Do you think there's a way to reverse the programming?
It's becoming aware of it, becoming aware. This what we're doing now is part of the process. If you're aware that literally everything you see, everything you experience becomes a program. Okay, and in a natural world, if we don't have all the this society around us and TVs and films and everything, well, it's a good thing, because you have experiences and they shape your reality. And you for instance, like you come to an edge of the cliff you've never seen before, and you realize, shit, that's a long way down there. And so now you're programmed to go, oh, okay, if I see this difference in vision that tells me that there's a long drop there, well, I know what to do. Yeah. So in the natural world, great, it programs you to live better in this world. But that sort of process has been hijacked by this cabal and used against us to literally shape us in the way that they want us to. But
and what about music? Like through music as well?
Sure. Well, language is only one tiny part of how we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So it's It's the way people walk, the way people dress, the way people smell, the way people actually move their bodies, the way people's faces move when they speak to you. You know, we pick up on lots and lots of different ways, things, frequency as well. You know, the frequency that you choose to use when you speak. You know,
Yeah, like the
so
tone of your voice.
the tone of your voice. You know, if I no, I was actually talking about this because I've been doing some talks to the Black community, and I was actually explaining to somebody that you know, in this society, a black man seems threatening just when he uses his natural voice, and I realize I do this as well. That to appear less threatening, I actually have raised the pitch
Tone.
of my voice
Yeah,
to sound less threatening, because my naturally my voice is down
it's
here.
low.
You know,
Yeah,
it's low and a lot more bass to it, and it's perceived in this society as threatening.
yeah.
And I give the example of I don't know if you might not have seen this, but there's a video on YouTube showing the behind the scenes of Star Wars. Okay, when Dave Prowse, who's the guy in the Darth Vader costume, he used to be the Green Cross Man. You're probably too young to remember him, but he's a big guy, and he's got this you know, Somerset accent, you know. So the original footage of Star Wars had this guy with a Somerset accent going, tear the ship apart until you found those plans, you know. And it's like, that's Darth Vader, you know.
Yeah,
So they couldn't have that voice because it literally didn't have any power to it, any
yeah.
gravitas to it. So they had to have, you know, James Earl Jones, you know, this black voice.
That deep voice.
The deep voice. It's not just about depth. There's all these frequencies involved that you know, and it projects as a voice with authority. Yeah. And again, that's and you'll see it in this video when they show the sort of dubbed over voice. The person said, yeah, we needed a voice with more menace. You know, so it's basically saying, you know, James Earl Jones's voice is menacing. You know, that's his natural voice. So, you know, but you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
so yes, so frequency, sound, and therefore music is important because we respond to frequencies, and I think this world is built on frequencies and on frequencies of sound.
Yeah.
Because if you look at cymatics, you know, where they put a loudspeaker on a
Yeah. I love looking at cymatics, like
yeah.
the geometrical shapes that sound makes.
Yeah. So when they put one frequency into that that loudspeaker, and they put the flower on top, yeah, the patterns it makes are very complicated, you know, and you get what they call standing waves. So literally all the flower or whatever it is, you know, congregates in those places. Well, that's just one frequency. Imagine a world with a myriad of frequencies all interacting with each other,
Yeah.
and you literally get standing waves of energy, which we call matter. Yeah. So literally, I think we're the kind of this imaginary stuff that is held, you know, is organized by sound frequencies, you know.
It's such a crazy concept, like because I loved like delving down this little rabbit hole of like cymatics and frequency, and even I was trying to guess the other day, what frequency am I vibrating from? Like, how do you know what frequency, as in what hertz, like what actual number do you think is making up your body?
I don't think you're a particular frequency. It's like the way I see it, right? This is a world of mind stuff, okay? Because you know if you follow quantum physics, literally when you try and look at a piece of stuff, yeah, a piece of matter,
Yeah.
You know, you start drilling into it, and you find, well, there's all this empty space and these little bits of matter. Well, you
Yeah.
drill into those little bits of matter, and it's like, oh, there's more empty space and even smaller bits of matter. And you keep going, and you just keep finding more and more empty space and more hints of matter. And you never get to any actual stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So essentially, we're mind stuff. We're like the products of somebody's mind imagining all this. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So if you go along there, then really we're just a standing wave of energy that's become almost self-aware.
Yeah.
You know? Because
have you? Go on, tell me.
I was just going to say, because you know, when you look at something, you know, so I'm looking at this screen right here. Okay. I'm not actually seeing this screen. Yeah. All I'm doing is the light is hitting the back of my eyes, and it's creating electrical signals.
Yeah.
Going to a dark place in the back of my skull, and it's putting together and guessing what it thinks is out here. You know.
Yeah.
And the same with everything else. All my other senses. Yeah. We're removed from the actual thing. We just interact with the electrical signals that come from our senses. So we don't really know what's out here. We don't really know what we are.
Yeah.
Our mind is just putting it all together and guessing what it thinks is out here.
So I've been delving quite deep more into like simulation theory. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, what I'm describing is kind of simulation theory, but it's more like an infinite mind. You know, the best analogy would be Charles Dickens and Oliver Twist. Yeah. So Charles Dickens sits down to write a story, and what he does is, in his mind, he creates a whole world. Yeah, Victorian London. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he imagines exactly what that world looks like and feels like and smells like and all that. And then he imagines all these characters inhabiting that world. And he basically says, okay, you've got free will, off you go. What are you going to do? And, you know, and they interact with each other, but it's all happening in his mind. Yeah. And it's kind of like the Matrix, you know, Neo sticks the thing in the back of his head, and he's not moving now, he's lying there, but in his head, there's this entire world going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's moving around, there's time passing, you know, but, you know, it's a world of mind stuff. So
do you think we're like the Matrix? Do you think?
In a kind of respect, yes. But as I said, we're you know, with the analogy of Charles Dickens, yeah, that's a human mind, a limited human mind, you know, imagining the world,
yeah,
and then writing it down on paper. But imagine an infinite mind, yeah, imagining these beings, and that's it. He's imagined us, and now, okay, you granted us free will, and off you go. Off, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So that's,
who do you have an idea of what entity is controlling this realm or planet or world, whatever you want to call it?
Again, you know, I subscribe to the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeah, but he's not actually controlling what's going on down here, because, as I said, we've all got free will. The wrinkle is that, you know, it's free will within an envelope of space and time. Yeah. But from outside this envelope of space and time, the whole story's already been and gone. It's already happened. So it's hard for us to imagine it. But like the Most High can look at this book, look at it as a book that's already been written, but he can also sort of open a page and kind of interact with it as well.
Yeah.
So he's literally told us the whole story, you know, in that book. He said, look, this is what happened, this is what is happening now, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've got free will. We're not predetermined as such, but from his point of view, outside of space and time, yeah, well, it's already happened, so it is kind of predetermined.
Yeah. There was a question I was going to ask. Oh yeah, that was it. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience or an experience with another entity or another being that isn't human?
Right. The only out-of-body experience I've had was one night. Actually, just one. Yeah, there was one night I was lying in bed, sort of lying on my back, but it's kind of staring up at the ceiling when I fell asleep. And I kind of woke up, but my viewpoint, if I'm lying on my bed, sort of looking up, but my viewpoint was looking across the room. Yeah, so it was, even though my real head was facing upwards,
Yeah.
I was seen to be looking across the room, like across my body to the main room.
Yeah.
So my out of body experience was like a few inches. So I was lying there. I could see the room. It was exactly like it should be. But then I heard a noise outside the room, like a footsteps. And I heard these footsteps coming into the room, and
Oh my God.
and literally there's as you come into my old bedroom, there was like a little hallway, a little passageway as you go through the door, and then it opened up into the main room. So I heard these footsteps actually come into the room, and then I saw this head very slowly come round the side of the wall. And I can remember this head. It was like a white guy with short, spiky blonde hair,
Yeah.
and round glasses that were bright and shiny, like there were lights.
Yeah.
And his head just literally went like this. Right. And that's when
scary.
and that's when I started struggling, and then I sort of jumped up when So
Did he look scary?
No, he looked ordinary. He looked
But it was
like
just like unexpected, so it was creepy in that way.
Yes, it was like, who the hell are you? What are you doing in my bedroom? Yeah, it was just that he was right there. I struggled, and all of a sudden I jumped up, and everything was exactly the same except he wasn't there.
Did he feel good or did he feel bad? Like, do you know to this day what it was or who it was?
No, it just felt menacing. It just felt like he was there not for any good reason.
Oh.
But that was the only time that I interacted with anybody or kind of saw anyone. But there was one just recently where I was helping. It was 2 years ago. I was helping somebody in North London, so I was sleeping on their couch, and in the front room, and I had my back to the room. Okay, asleep on the couch there, and I felt that sleep paralysis come on me.
Yeah.
But it was different because I felt something with many arms, like an octopus, basically wrap itself around my back and like grip me, started to grip me.
You felt that?
Yes. I felt there was something or someone or something, but it had many powerful arms like an octopus.
Yeah.
And it just wrapped itself around my back. And this is going to sound silly, but I said, I'm David, son of Cleophas, son of Josephine. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, son of the Most High. Right? I command you to be gone. And immediately this thing just shrunk away, sprung away from me. Right? So I sat up and I looked around the room, and there was a kind of very dark corner. And I could feel like there was something in that corner.
They're always in a corner.
Yeah, just waiting for me to go back to sleep or something, right? It was like it felt like a presence just sitting, like hiding in the darkness there.
Yeah.
Just waiting for me for another opportunity to try and get me. So
how did you know to say that, by the way?
I don't know. It just felt the thing to say, just tell it who I am, that I know who I am, and I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
By saying that, I'm a child of the Most High, these things are going to be afraid of the Most High for sure. So he's not, and they're not going to attack the Most High's children either. So I looked at this dark corner and I said again out loud, I am a son of the Most High, you know, I command you to be gone. And I didn't even wait. I rolled over and went to sleep, and I slept well.
Yeah, that is so crazy, because I had like I've actually had quite a few experiences with entities or beings, I don't know what you want to call them. But the most terrifying one I had was when I was living in Essex, actually, a couple of years ago.
That is terrifying, Essex.
Yeah, it was for me. No, I'm joking. It's not as bad as South London, you know. But yeah, so I was in Essex, and just one night I remember waking up during the night. Well, I wasn't like fully awake though, and I was hovering above my bed. I remember that I was hovering, right, because I remember my whole body felt like I was vibrating. Like my whole body was just like a phone, how your phone vibrates. Like that's literally how my body was vibrating, and it was as if half my consciousness was in this body, but then my other consciousness was taken away. It's really difficult to try and describe the fact that I could really sense that I was in two places at once, because I could really feel and sense and see the fact that I was hovering above my bed, and then in this other place I was taken to this realm where I needed to fight this being slash witch, and she was like I don't know, I can't even describe. She had like short hair and was like hunched over and like really short, like olivey skin, and I had to walk, and I had this this sword that was like it was beaming like a bright white light from this sword. Basically, I was holding this sword, and I remember feeling really confident. I was like, this is my test. Like, and I just remember feeling like this is the test I've been waiting for, and I'm going to complete this test. And then I had to walk down this massive long cave, and I could see her back was towards me, so she was like just standing with her back towards me. So I was walking down, I didn't even get halfway down. The moment she turned around to look at me, she was right in front of me, staring through my eyes, and I don't know, like I dropped the sword and I just felt this instant terror, and I don't know what she was doing to me, but I was frozen in that reality as well as this reality as well. And then I just remember begging just to go back. I was like, okay, fine, I'm not ready. Like I just remember like getting really terrified. When I've come back and I like was dropped on the bed and my full consciousness was back, I could feel this extremely dark entity in my room in the left-hand corner. It was so big that I didn't physically see it like with my own eyes, but I could feel it, and it was hunched over the ceiling, because that's how big it was. It couldn't even fit in the room. And I remember I just remember like I was just looking up, like I can even kind of, it was maybe like I don't know if I could see a shadow, but I could feel it, and I knew it was there hunching over the ceiling because it was so big. And I was terrified. I've never felt terror like that. Like I now know the difference between fear and terror, because before I could have just, you know what it feels like to be fearful, I suppose, but I was genuinely shaking to go back to sleep. I was shaking. It was like insane. Like that was like the most terrifying experience I've actually ever had with anything like that.
It's that terror when it's late at night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and all lights are off, and you're going up the stairs, and you think there's someone behind you. You know that yes, I know that terror. You know?
Yeah.
But the thing you said, how did I know to say what I said? The thing I realized was that these entities, they're afraid of us. They're literally afraid of us, and we're more powerful than they are. And that's why their agents in this world have made all these horror films trying to depict them as powerful demons that can do all sorts of things, because they want us to be afraid of them. So I had that in my mind, that these things are afraid of us. We just have to stand up to them, basically. And I also had something, because I went to have I had ayahuasca.
Oh, have you done that?
Yes.
That's on my list. She's calling me, but I'm not ready yet.
But I had an unusual experience though. So I went for this session, and with one of my friends actually. Now he had the full-on experience with all these entities he was talking to. With me, I felt the felt it coming on, This was at 11 o'clock at night. Felt it coming on. 3, 2, 1. All the lights came up, you know. I looked outside. It was light outside. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, well, what just happened? Because I had no memory of any time passing. It's just like, you know, I settled back and all of a sudden the lights came up. It was like, what, hang on, what just happened? And the guy who was running the ceremony said, no, you were talking to somebody and you're having experience. You're moving around the room. You were talking, but I have no memory whatsoever. And I had this idea from a cannabis journey I did, that it was like I've got a samurai warrior somewhere inside here, and its job is to protect me from stuff. And I think it feels like this thing was in there protecting me from what I experienced in that.
Oh, do you think you might have experienced something quite dark?
I think I did, and I was protected from it, so I don't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense, actually. But I've never heard someone have an experience like that where they can't remember their journey. This is the first.
Yeah. So yeah, I always feel very confident now, you know, about anything like that, because I feel I've got protection.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not afraid of these demons or whatever. The only one I'm afraid of is the Most High.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about more about your journey, because the thing is, do you class yourself as religious or not? When you're talking about the Most High, is that from a religious context?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And this is the research I'm doing at the moment. The Old Testament is not a religious book. Never meant to be a religious book. It's a book of history, law, and guidance for a particular people.
Yeah.
And you know, that particular people just happens to have a relationship with the creator of all that is, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, you know, what's happened is other people have taken that book, added their own book, and weaved a religion around it. But no, I'm not religious. I was an atheist for 40 years. And, you know, I had to, once I started this whole process, this whole journey that I've been on has been about breaking the stories that I've been told, breaking the reality that I've been given, you know, piece by piece. So, you know, the aims of this society, the aims that I'm supposed to have in this society, you know, get good grades at school, get a good job, you know, make money, buy a big house, buy a fast car, get a faster car, get a bigger house, blah, 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 until you die. You know, every aspect of that got broken away and said, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. You know, and at every stage where I've learned something about this world and myself, I've had to adjust to it. I've had to, you know, once I realized that my job was actually not what I thought it was and harmful to people around me.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that job anymore. I tried. I went back into the matrix and tried to get a job that was, you know, innocuous, wasn't going to harm anybody. I literally started work for a company that did online competitions. I thought, you know, that's not going to hurt anyone. You know, online competitions, that's a bit of fun. So I started working for them, and one day in a company meeting, the CEO came out and said, "Here's our real business model." He said, "What we're doing is really we're when people interact with our site, we hide a few bits of software on their computer, and essentially we track them through social media and see who they interact with, what their values are, who they confide in, all this metadata, all this data about you that you don't know you're giving away, you know." And they literally package it up and sell it to the corporations. And I was like
data analytics and stuff, like personal data and stuff.
Yes, but it's not just, you know, not just your name, dress, phone number, you know, age and all. No, it's psychological information, you know, things that
that can be used against you.
Used against you. So, you know, who do you confide in? That was one of the things he actually mentioned. Who do you confide in? So it builds a picture of, you know, the sort of person you talk to, what things you talk about. You know, it builds a picture of your psyche, basically.
Yeah.
And that's very sort of very valuable information
Yeah,
to
of course.
advertisers and stuff. So he said, yeah, that's what they're doing. And I seem to be the only one who objected. I put my hand up and I was saying, don't you think that's like pretty unethical, you know? And he said, well, you know, if we didn't do it, somebody else would do it and they'd get the money. And that was
yeah, it was all about money.
Yeah. So, so literally I couldn't work there. I literally, from that moment on, because I couldn't just leave. So what I did was I refused to do any work. So I literally did no work for 6 months while I was there.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, I literally refused to do any work. I just.
But did you hand your notice in?
No.
Did they get rid of you then?
Well, eventually. Well, no, they didn't actually get rid of me. But yeah, eventually, it's like after 6 months, I thought, oh, I can't keep doing this, you know. So I left.
But they were still paying you.
Well, yes, I literally worked for 6 months. I did, well, when I say worked, I sat there and did my own research for 6 months.
And they didn't know, or they did know?
After about a month or so, they said, yeah, Dave, we've noticed your work rate's dropped off a little bit. I said, oh, really? And then they said, yeah, just you might want to bring that up a bit. And I'm like, okay then. Went back to my desk and carried on researching.
That is so funny.
That was near Christmas. It was like November or something. So they called me in sort of just before Christmas and said, yeah, we're not seeing your work rate go up very much. I said, oh, really? And they said, yeah, but we know it's near Christmas, so maybe we'll take this up, you know, in the new year after Christmas. So I had another month.
Oh my gosh.
Of doing nothing, and then in the new year, so okay, we're going to put somebody with you, and maybe we'll help bring your work rate up. So, oh, okay. So literally, I was just pushing this, keeping this going for ages, and eventually. It's a long story, but I got them to pay me to leave. So.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So yeah.
That sounds like a win-win.
Yes, so, you know, I literally couldn't go along with what they were doing.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, part of it was my protest and my hopefully stalling tactics, so they couldn't do this thing. So yeah.
So you mentioned like earlier at the beginning that you now live off grid, and then you went on to say that you used to have a Ferrari and a really large house. Mm-hmm. So I really want to ask, how did you make that move to living off grid? And like, was it a gradual change? Was it quite drastic for you? How did you learn about it, or did you just throw yourself in it? There's a lot of people that want to, you know, move off grid. Like, for example, that for me is the ultimate dream, like living off grid. And for me, I'm born and bred in a city, you know. The thought of doing it and trying to get out the system also scares me, which I suppose is the trap, you know.
Yes, it is, and because we don't think there's a way to live outside of this construct that we've been in. Now, for me, it was, you know, it was a process. I tried to put myself in the matrix, and that's where I found myself in that job, and you know, because I had the 2 children, I got myself a 3-bedroom house I was renting, just on the off chance that they wanted to stay over. But you know, they stayed over a few times, but you know, they've got their own lives, so they didn't really want to hang out with me very much. So it's like I had this big house that I was rattling around in. So yeah, I was so literally, yeah, sorry. so yeah, this big house I was rattling around in, and I thought, well, you know, I can't live like this. Well, what am I doing? So I got myself a camper van or a motorhome, essentially. And that in itself was a story, because I started looking at motorhomes, and I was seeing them at all, from about 15 grand upwards, I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to afford one of these.
Yeah.
And then I just finished a 3-month contract work. And I had a little wad of change, and it wasn't nowhere near 15 grand, but, I had a little bit of money. And I thought, well, I'll have another look on eBay to see if I can find a motorhome. And the first minute I opened eBay, I saw this motorhome that matched up with everything that I wanted, and it was for 6 grand. And I just happened to have 6 grand. And I looked, and it was literally the next town along, and I could walk there. So I thought that. And I went over, and it was perfect. So I bought this motorhome, and then literally I was sitting there I think I was there for this house for another 4 months or so. And I kept saying to myself, maybe next month I'll leave and go, and that would come, and I'll be like, maybe next month,
Yeah.
Like I kept pushing it off until.
Was there a fear? Was it a fear for you?
Not well, a fear. Yes, there's a fear of the unknown, because
Making that jump, yeah.
Just as you said, it's like, okay, all right, I've got this motorhome now, but what do I do with it? Where do I go? How do I live? What without a stable house and this life that we're used to. What am I going to do? I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, that fear kept me pushing the date that I left off and off and off. And I think I'd done that process maybe 4 or 5 times, no, maybe next month. And then I guess the Most High stepped in and said, nope, you're out. So my landlord basically phoned up and said, yeah, we're coming back to England, so we're going to need the house. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess it is next month then. So I think it was like the couple of days before I was meant to leave. I still didn't know where I was going to go, and this was on the Friday. I was supposed to hand the keys over on the Monday, and I was thinking like, I don't know where I'm going to go when I give the keys in. And then on that day, somebody phoned up and said, Dave, we're having a get together on the land. It's going to be like a long weekend, yeah, do you want to come? I'm like, okay. So that was my first stop. I handed the keys in, drove over there, and was there for like 4 or 5 days. And then while I was there, somebody else said, hey, there's an eco village over here. And okay, I'll go there. So I went there, and then there was another eco village, and I went over there, and I stayed at the, so yes, it was like, I got instructions en route. Yeah? That's
crazy.
And one of my videos is when I got to a certain place, you'll see on my videos, I think it's called a Better Way. I got there, and this is like, I was in this beautiful part of the countryside, and it was like, this is great.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm making this video, but I'm just saying, this is like, I've left behind this society that, that I didn't fit in. And I feel more natural walking around in this greenery,
Yeah. Do you have many videos on your channel about how to live off grid and how you made the jump and stuff?
Not really. I mean, that one is basically me saying that I've just done it, and this is what I've done. Because the plan was that I worked for 3 months, and did a contract job. And with that 3 months money, I was hoping to take 6 months off, and make that money stretch for 6 months. Then jump back into the matrix for another 3 months and see if I can extend that to 9 months, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to near the 6 months, and I thought, well, I can carry on. So it's been 7 years now. So.
Do you use money? Still.
Yes,
as in, what really makes me curious is, how do you support yourself with food and the essentials and water and stuff?
this is the thing that that most people don't get, and I don't really get it, but I do get it, but I don't really. There's a part of me that's saying, no, it's too unbelievable. The Most High looks after me.
Okay.
So it's like, if I need to be somewhere, I'll end up there, and I don't know how. I'll end up there. Okay, a good example is, I'm down at the bottom of the country, and I had to do a talk up in Hull, and I looked at my petrol gauge, and I'm like half full. I'm thinking, well, that's not going to get me up to Hull. So normally I would have phoned up and said, I'm sorry, I can't make it, But this time I said, you know what? I know I'm going to get there. I just know I'm going to get there. I don't know how. I know I'm going to get there. So I set out with no idea how I'm going to make it. So I set out, and I'm going along, and I get a phone call from my best friend. And he said, "Oh, hello, Dave. Where are you?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm just passing Basildon. I'm not far from you." He goes, "Oh, stop here. I haven't seen you for a while." I was like, "Well, I haven't got a real timetable here, so I might as well, spend a few hours with my mate." So I went over to his house, parked up on his drive, and I'm looking at my petrol gauge, going, "Nah," you know. And he comes up and he says, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Look, I'm on my way to Hull. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but I literally, I know it in my heart that I'm going to get there. It's just strange." And before I could say anything, he slaps 100 quid in front of me. And I'm like, "No, Dave, I don't need it. Don't, I know I'm going to get there. I really don't need it." He said, "Dave, you've helped me, when my mum died and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Don't give me this back." So I literally made it there and back. I didn't know I was going to go to my friend's house, and I didn't know he was going to do that. But
Yeah.
I made it there and back, and and I've got a whole list of stories like that. Like not having enough money to get home from I think it's Leeds or somewhere, and only having a ticket to go to King's Cross.
Yeah.
And then on the way to King's Cross, somebody phoning me up and saying, "Dave, can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." He said, "Well, can you meet me at King's Cross?" I'm like, "Actually."
Yeah.
And I met him at King's Cross. I helped him, and they took me home.
I love hearing stories like that. It just reminded me of a book that I actually read by Neil Donald Walsh, who actually wrote Conversations with God. So after I read Conversations with God, I read this book about, I actually can't remember the title of it. It's something to do with miracles, or miracles of God, or something. And it was all about this family. Well, it was like a mixture of loads of different stories that are similar to what you've just basically told. And it really changed my perception and helped me trust something. I don't even know what now. What I would even call it. Source, creator. It helps me
trust your part in this world, right? Because you live in your own universe, okay, right? And that universe is for you. It's designed for you. This world is designed for you to be in it.
Yeah.
The world would not be the world without you in it right now. Yeah. So you've got to trust that the world is here to support you. Yeah. It's here to support your game. Yeah. If you want to believe that you're helpless and without the system, right, you'll be homeless on the streets in pain and in terror and all this stuff. Well, the world will give that to you if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because right now, technically for the last 7 years, I've been poor, homeless, unemployed, and there's another one I can't remember. But I'm all that. But that's not me.
Yeah.
I've worked more for free than I ever worked before.
Yeah.
And I'm not poor. Because when I need actual money actually comes to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how. It's just okay, another example. I was with a kind of new girlfriend, and she invited me to come down to her place, and I said, look, I'll have to be later because I've only got enough money to get there, you know. And she said, no, come down anyway. Got down there, and things went very pear-shaped, you know. So I said, you know what, I'm leaving, even though I knew that I didn't know how I was going to get home, you know. And it was like a couple of 100 miles away from where I live. I'm walking to the train station, and I get a phone call, and from somebody who said, yeah, Dave, thanks for all your help. I've donated some money to you. And it just happened to be just enough for me to get home with.
That's crazy. Yeah, I love hearing these stories. It is so true though. Like I do really find that, you know, whatever you need does come to you when you need it, you know. Do you believe, like, what's your stance on manifestation, on being able to manifest your own reality? Do you think there's something to it as well? So it's like a mixture of like both manifesting but also trusting.
Well, I think that this is the place exactly for that. There's a book in the Old Testament that was taken out of the Old Testament called Second Esdras, and it basically says that we're here, we're being tested here. That, you know, it's like an open-ended question, you know. There's no right or wrong way to live your life, but, you know, from your point of view, there's no right or wrong way to live your life, but you've already been implanted with the 10 commandments that tell you, yeah, you know what, this is right, this is wrong. Yeah, we all know that. Yeah. And you're incarnated here, you know, with no memory of who or what you are, and told, you know, off you go. How are you going to live your life? And this place that we're in, anything is possible. Any experience that you can conceive of, right? You can have it if you want it. Yeah. And, you know, the temptations are there to do wickedness, you know, but the path there to do good is also there. So yeah. It, you know, so any opportunity, anything you want to have happen, yeah, you can have happen. But again, your mind can be programmed to believe that you can't have what you need, you know. And that's what this this bloodline that's in control has basically done to us. They've locked us into this mode of scarcity and dependency, that says that you can't have what you want. You have to work hard for it, and you have to jump through hoops for it. But no, in reality, right, if you really want it, you literally just focus your intention and will on it, and you know, you'll wake up one day and go, oh, there it is. Well,
yeah.
You know, but no, they've got us focused on their process of how to do stuff. That you have to jump through these hoops, and you know, these hoops. You know, get this qualification, get this job, you know, earn this money, pay this fee, and maybe, possibly, you can get to do what you want to do. You know.
So, do you think they're gonna lose basically, and we're gonna win? Like, what do you see for the future, like going forward? Like, do you have any visions or ideas or opinions on what's going to be happening?
Well, fortunately, the books are already there, as I said, and yes, the hint, you know, spoilers, we win in the end, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know, that's what it says. We win in the end. But the only thing that's left to decide is what side you, in particular, are going to be on. Yeah. That's it. It's when you watch a film. When you watch a film, there are two stories that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at the main plot line. That's the main story, you know. So what's going on in that world, in that story. Yeah. So in our world story, there's chemtrails, there's the coronavirus, there's, you know, fluoride in the water, there's all this stuff. Yeah, all this stuff going on. But the most important story is your personal journey through that world, through that story. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, the outside story, yes, it's it's kind of important from our point of view, but it's not really important.
Yeah.
You know, the important part is what you choose to do. And
Yeah.
you're essentially going to be judged on that. So, so yes, I'm hopeful, because I know that these guys aren't going to win, and I know that because the whole story from beginning to end is in that book, and you can read it and realize that they've tried and failed in the past, and the Most High basically says they're going to try. They've been allowed to do what they're doing right now,
Yeah.
but they've gone too far, and they're going to be badly punished for it. But they're going to lose in the end.
Yeah. So basically, ignore all the distractions that are going on
Yes.
around, because essentially we're going to be okay in the end anyway.
Yes, and this my kind of advice for this kind of echoes what the book says. Yeah, it's not about physically.
Hang on, sorry. What
fighting.
you mean by the book? You mean the Bible, right?
The Old Testament.
Okay. Yeah.
So-called Old Testament. It's actually called the Book of Remembrance.
Okay.
Which is a whole story in itself. But yeah, so the book basically tells us that we're in a contest with ourselves, essentially. And my advice for people to navigate this is literally to work on yourself. Don't let yourself be changed by this this scam that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're aiming to do. They're changing your perceptions, and making you dependent, making you believe you're helpless against all this. And people are changing because of it. You see the fear outside. People not wanting to get close to anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Not wanting to talk to anybody. Even
it's actually a really horrible energy and atmosphere at the moment because of it. Yeah.
And that's because people are allowing themselves to be changed. And if this cabal wins out, which they won't do in the end, but if they get to do what they want to do, then humanity will be changed forever. You know, it's funny. I was in Waitrose yesterday, and I realized something. I was like pondering what the world of the New World Order would be like, if they won. And a couple of little phrases were echoing through my head. One of them was useless eaters.
Useless eaters.
Yes, which is what they call us, yeah, useless eaters. And I thought, yeah, you know what? One of the things that this entails. Let's imagine 100 years from now they win. Okay. One of the things that our lives will be like is that we would be our food supply would be, and I called it ersatz, which just means like a fake version. So
artificial, yeah.
Yeah. So now, if you're probably not old enough, but when supermarkets first came in, they were amazing places because you could walk into a supermarket and I don't know, beans, for instance. There was like every variety of bean that was like tinned beans, every kind. And you go down the shelves and it was like 24 varieties of whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like all this choice. And I noticed when I came back to this country, I went to the supermarket that I used to go to before I left, and I noticed that that choice aspect had shrunk. Now when there was like 20 types of bean you could get, now there were 2.
Yeah.
And there were different, a dozen brands of those 2, but there was still only 2 you could choose from.
Yeah.
And I'm still seeing that movement because I was trying to get this kind of cracker, this type of cracker. I can't really describe it, but there's a type of cracker that was always in the shop. Now it's gone. It's just quietly removed.
Yeah.
And now that choice has been narrowed.
Yeah.
And it's been a slow process. Of initially they gave us tons of choice, mainly to woo us away from the small shops.
Yeah.
But now that we're all habituated to go into supermarkets, now they're reducing the choices right down, right? So I see the future under this new world order for the survivors, and in our class, right? You'll go to a supermarket and there'll be one choice, and it will be, you know, ersatz beans, and that's it. One type of bean, and it'll be in a plain wrapper, a plain white container with beans on it. And that's it. And literally, they can poison it as much as they want because, you know, we've got no choice.
Yeah.
And so we go to the supermarket and we just get these white labeled things that, you know, ersatz bread, ersatz beans, ersatz whatever.
But do you think it will get to that point?
I don't think it will, but
you're saying if it did go that far.
If it did, yeah. But for them, they're the ones that are going to have all this, you know, lavish luxury food.
Yeah.
But for the proles, it's going to be ersatz stuff that's going to be subtly poisoned again, so that we all have short, brutal lives. And yeah, the vision hit me when I was in that shop.
Yeah.
You know, just looking and thinking, you know what, the choices have been narrowed, and for me personally, when I'm walking around Waitrose, you know, once I've been to the fruit and veg part, the rest of the shop is redundant because I know most of it's all poison.
Yeah,
and I can't eat any of this stuff.
Yeah,
you know, and it just came to me that that's the vision of the future. That you'll have no choice. Yeah, you can only buy what they provide you, and everything they provide you is going to be poisonous.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, they're creating quite a lot of confusion, aren't they, at the moment? Like, step aside from the food issue, but it's just in general, in every sense. Do you know a lot about the new age agenda and QAnon and stuff?
I know enough about it, enough to go, you know what, nah.
How they're hijacking the system and really kind of leading people down a wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
That can sometimes feel a little bit worrying, you know, that people aren't able to see it for what it is.
Again, that's out in the main game, yeah. Again, what's important is how you play, yeah. Doesn't matter what they're doing on the outside, how are you going to play?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, you know, what cards you're dealt when you come into this world, because any poker player knows that if you get dealt a 2 and a 3, you can still beat somebody who's got 2 aces. Yeah. It's not the cards you've been dealt with, it's how you play the game. Yeah. And a skillful player with a 2 and a 3 is going to beat somebody who's got a pair of aces and then somebody who's got a pair of kings. Yeah. A skillful player will play such a way that they'll win no matter what.
I know you're saying like focus on yourself and like focus on what we are doing like individually, but on a collective level, do you ever feel that will affect the reality going forward on a collective level?
Of course. When you change yourself, the world changes around you. Yeah. You know, so you change yourself, right? You act differently. You make different choices, right? You affect the people around you. They start making different choices. Yeah. People you don't even know are going to be affected by you. Yeah. You know, I'm just, you know, stupid Dave from Basildon. But, you know, I decided to make the odd film, a video about, you know, what I discovered and what I feel about stuff.
Yeah.
And well, here I'm in Liverpool. Okay. And 4 times now, I've walked out on the street and somebody's gone, "You're Dave. I've been watching your videos, and I started urine therapy. Or I've done this, I've done that," because, you know, and I'm like, well, you know, it's really humbled me because it's like I'm just Dave from Basildon, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But people are saying that you know, that I've somehow affected their lives, you know, and I didn't know. I don't know these people, but somehow this,
it's a crazy concept, but you do. You touch a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not, you don't have to go make videos or anything, but you are, and you know, right now you're affecting people, and you'll never know the extent of how you affect people in this world. Yeah, there's somebody who's watched your videos and has changed their life because of it.
Yeah.
And now, you know, they're out there changing other people's lives because what have you done? You know, you've initiated that.
Yeah.
And that's, and you can replicate that, you know, maybe 10,000 times, maybe 100,000 times, maybe 1,000,000 times. You don't know.
Yeah. I really want to just before, because I'm like being mindful of the time. I've kept a lot of your time. I really want to touch on flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Just a tiny little bit. So obviously I know that we live on a flat Earth, but what really confuses me is what's beyond and outside. And growing up, I was like always really into astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And if space is fake, then where does that leave astrology?
Right. Well, I'll answer the second question first. Right. Astrology was something that the fallen angels taught man. Okay. There was the angels are somehow connected to the stars, if not stars, actually stars. Yeah. The Book of Enoch basically says that angels are stars.
Yeah.
Okay. The Testament of Solomon, when he was going through the demons, he was saying, okay, what star are you? You know, and they say, I'm that star over there, you know. So they are either, these angels are either stars or they're connected to the stars in some way. So when the angels fell, they had a vested interest in looking at the stars and making sure, you know, nothing was coming for them, or, you know. So they taught mankind, you know, how to read the stars. So
it's a real concept. It's a real concept.
It's a real concept, but I don't think it's a concept for us, because the book basically says that we're not meant to be, you know, divining by the stars.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if, you know, the angels know that the movements of certain stars mean something, yeah, and you know, but they mean something for them, not for us.
Yeah.
But divining by the stars, we were told not to do that. What's outside of this, my personal view is that this is a bubble of 3D space and time. Okay. So 3D space, you know, the space that we're moving around in, and time passing only happens here in this bubble. Okay.
So there's stillness outside then.
There is, this is the thing, there is no outside, because that would imply space and time. Yeah. We can't imagine it because we are 3D space and time creatures. Yeah. So there is no outside. This bubble is all there is, right? But on a different, I guess, dimension, a different frequency, you might call it. You know, there's an existence that has nothing to do with time passing, had nothing to do with space. So when we arrive here, that moment that we arrive in this place is the same moment we leave, you know, from the perspective of outside of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when, you know, if it's the case that when we leave here, we go back to being a kind of spirit being, right? It's the same, the moment we arrived here is the same moment we leave. Yeah. So
that's a crazy concept to try and understand in your head.
Yes, which also means that everyone arrived here at the same time. Yeah. So everyone, from our point of view,
so the moment I'm born and the moment I die is the same point.
Same point. And it's the same point for everybody, even though they might have lived, you know, 1,000 years ago. Yeah. They all arrived at the same time and then left at the same time. So we all arrive back in, you know, out of here at the same time, because there is no time in that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to get our heads around because we're swimming in this environment. But that's why I'm saying there is nothing outside of this. And essentially science says the same thing, because it just expands the model out a bit, you know, so that we don't see it. It's saying that the universe is expanding. Yeah. This is their model. Yeah. That the universe is expanding. Well, what's it is expanding into? You know, it can't be expanding into more space and time, because then that would also be the universe, you know.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's expanding, but you know, there's nothing outside it, because anyway.
Is it? Yeah, I just, I can't, like, I really want to try and understand like what's outside, and it's obviously I won't be able to.
There
Can you give me
isn't.
like literally 2 seconds? I need to let someone in. Sorry.
Okay.
Literally 2 seconds. Okay, so I only have a couple of questions left. Sorry. What was I going to say? So, how would you advise, just for someone who is starting their journey?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, carry on. Starting your journey,
yeah, just for someone who's starting their journey, or starting to question things, or starting to feel like something isn't right, something doesn't sit right, the system doesn't feel right, the world doesn't feel right. How would you advise someone to seek truth? You know, like someone who internally is feeling things aren't right, or what kind of advice would you give this person?
Right. Well, the first bit of advice would be to try and put aside everything that you think is true. Yeah. Just, you know, you don't have to sort of not believe it. You just put it to one side and say, okay, let's assume I don't know anything. Okay. And whatever subject that's got you feeling that way, start looking into it. Start asking questions about it. If you've got an open heart, right, and you're not clouded with everything that you think you know already, yeah, and again, there's that process of filling this side of your brain up that you know all these things, yeah. You put that aside and assume I don't know anything, and start asking questions. The answers will come to you, and most of all, they'll come to you through your intuition. You know, you'll get an answer, and you'll know that that's the truth, and you'll start looking around, and you'll get confirmation that yes, that's true. And just again, follow with an open heart, and don't try and put your own views on top of it, and just go where the information takes you.
Yeah, and just let it flow, right?
Yeah. And you know, if you're anything like me, you know, once you start getting this, it's exciting. It's like finding this stuff, and I've found some amazing things. Just recently, you know, one thing I found, somebody told me about the idea that the calendar has they've literally added 1,000 years to our calendar, and at the time I paid no attention to it. I thought, yeah, that's some crazy conspiracy theory. But then I was again researching the Old Testament and found something that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, which when I calculated it out meant essentially the world should have ended in, you know, 1030 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a new concept that I've found as well, that they changed the calendar.
Yeah. And so it forced me, you know, as I heard this or calculated it and thought, no, that's wrong. That popped back into my head. I thought, well, let me go and look at that again, you know?
Yeah.
And then I started to actually look at the entire story, and all of a sudden it's just like, wow, this actually looks like it could be real. And it fits in with what I was talking about, what my calculations were, and the rest of the story that I found, you know, reading the Old Testament. It's just like, it just slots in really neatly. And my intuition was like, yep, that's right, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, it's been pretty amazing. And, you know, you feel it, you know, goosebumps come up, and when you feel it, when you find this stuff, and you just like know that it's real.
And the amazing thing is, I feel like we never really stop learning as well. Like the next thing just leads us deeper, deeper, deeper. I just feel like I keep going deeper. I'm still going down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
So many of them.
Because I'm writing this book, and I've been writing it for over a year now.
Oh, what's it about? Is it about your adventures, the adventures of allegedly Dave?
No, I think that's next, but
yeah, no, it sounds like you should do one though, you know.
Maybe. Now this is about the Book of Remembrance. It's about the Old Testament, and all the stuff that I found out.
So the history behind it?
It's, yes, the history, what the story is all about, and how it works, and what the future holds,
Yeah.
what led us to this point right now, um, when you know who the players are, right, and their biblical motivations, you can see it in the world right now, so I've lost the train of thought now, but
Well, the Book of Remembrance, does it have to be decoded? Is it quite easy to read?
it is actually very easy to read. It doesn't have to be decoded as such. It's not in code, but there are, I believe, there are keys to understanding it. And Daniel, in his book, he says, "Shut the book up until the end." So the book was sealed, so that this book that has been with humanity for the whole of recorded history, until it was ready, you couldn't look at it and understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Until the right time, which is now.
Yeah.
Right? And now with the right keys, and one of them, I call it the obedience key. And that obedience key is not to have an idol in your heart. If you've got JC, in your heart, then you can't read that book without seeing JC in it.
Yeah.
And if you see JC in that book, then you can't understand the story. It's gibberish. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So you have to read it with an open, clear perspective.
Yes. You've got to also know who the players are in that book and who they are today.
Yeah.
You've got to know the language. I call it the language deception. Yeah, because all of these Bibles are translations.
Yeah.
They're not the actual word. They're translations into English. And if you can see the tricks that have been used to hide information, then you can read it, understanding that, and read it differently to the way they intend you to see it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So I feel like I need to read the book after we've had this conversation. Where can I get it from then? Just like Amazon or?
Which book?
The Book of Remembrance.
Well, the Book of Remembrance is essentially the Old Testament with some of the books that were taken out, restored.
Okay.
So there's 14 books of the Apocrypha. So you get the King James 1611 with the Apocrypha. And that's these 14 books. I include also the Book of Enoch, Book of Jasher, and Book of Jubilees. And
okay.
Between all those books, you get a real, a very rich story that sometimes feels like a Lord of the Rings adventure.
Yeah. And when is your book going to be finished? Published?
That's a bloody good question. I'd like to know. No, yeah, I keep saying this. It's like I keep giving myself deadlines, and then I hear them whoosh by me. It's like, yeah. So, I mean, this week I was supposed to start writing, on Monday.
Yeah.
And literally, I haven't really properly sat down and been able to do it because I had to do research and stuff. So. So yes, I want to say within the next 2 months.
Okay, well that's good. So when it's published, I'll read it, and then I'll get you back on, and we can discuss more in depth about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll send you the introduction, and you can
say that again.
Maybe I'll send you the introduction.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that'd be interesting.
Introduction and chapter 1. And,
do I need to have read the Book of Remembrance to understand and read your book?
No, because that's what I'm basically doing. Well, you don't have to have read it.
Yeah.
But what I suggest to people is, you can read my book and then have a look at, read the book yourself and see if you agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so, lastly, what would you say is your mission here? Do you have a clear mission here? I
was actually told what my mission is,
well, that makes life so much easier when you get told.
Yes. So a friend of mine, guy from Hungary, basically did a process on me, which was, basically got me to lie down and relax, and got me to describe an atmospheric place. So I described a large teepee with a fire in the middle and some logs around the fire. And I was sitting on a log. So he got me to describe it in detail. And he said, okay, somebody's come in. Who is it? And then all of a sudden I saw this medicine woman come in, and it happened to be a friend of mine as a medicine woman.
Yeah.
So she came in and she sat down opposite me, on one of the logs. And my friend said, okay, you can ask her whatever you want. So essentially, I was tapping into my subconscious. Yeah. So my subconscious mind invented this place and invented a character who could talk to me. And then so I could actually ask this character, which is my subconscious, directly.
Yeah.
So I asked it, the first question I asked was, what's my purpose here? And without missing a beat, she said, to help and inspire by just being you.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's definitely what you're doing.
And I think I've been gypped, because I think that's everybody's purpose. It's literally everyone's purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be you. You know how to be you.
Yeah.
So just be you, and don't let anybody stop you from being you.
Yeah.
And literally you will help and inspire people around you.
Thank you so much for your time. I finally got my podcast with you. I've wanted for a few years.
I hope it was worth it.
It was definitely worth it. It was definitely worth waiting for.
Good.
So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I actually had a few more questions, but I just don't want to go on too long, and maybe we can just talk another time.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome.
I will speak to you soon.
All right.
Thank you.